Hi, this is Mike from Reno Propulsion Labs, renopropulsionlabs.com. I just wanted to pop in today to do a quick video on Future Motion's new update to the Onewheel software. Basically what they did is they made a number of updates to this thing. They introduced custom shaping, turn compensation, tilt, so you can adjust the tilt of your board. I'm going to just do a quick video today going through and showing the extremes of each feature. So I'm going to turn one on and then put it on one extreme, put it on the other extreme, then turn it off, and then go to the next one and go through just to show what each one does. One of the other things I wanted to show was the new posi feature for the footpad. Before I do that, I do want to note, so my board does have the NRF Connect on it, and it is tilted so the nose is up just a hair already. So if the some of the angles and stuff are going to be just a little bit different. I know a lot of you guys out there do already have that NFC or NRF Connect to have that tilt on. So first, let's go over the new footpad feature. So stock and how your board is usually run is, so your front footpad has two zone sensors, so one on the left and one on the right. Basically, you have to have both of them turned on to engage, and your board will move. And then you lift one side up and it disengages. Give me just a second, I'm going to change it over and change it to the posi and show you how that works. All right, so we just changed to the posi feature. So now what happens is you can touch either side of the footpad and it'll engage. So touch one side, it'll engage. Touch the other side, it'll engage. You no longer have to have both sides down. Now, the positive is once you get going and you're riding for a little bit and you decide to do a heel stop, the board realizes that you've been riding for a bit and goes back to one zone footpad. I do believe you have to get up to speed first, which obviously I cannot show you while I'm sitting here, but basically once you're riding for a little while, the posi turns itself off and you can go back and disengage by just lifting your heel.
All right, so first we're going to go nose up. So this is really good for trail riding. It's great for if you're going up and down steep hills. You can see the front nose on the wheel is getting lifted up as I move forward. The nice thing is that this is directional. So we're going to switch it over here now. We're going to go nose down. So nose down is great if you do a lot of hard braking, going down a lot of hills. Again, it is reversible, which is definitely nice. So now we're going to switch over here. We're going to change the braking aggressiveness. We're going to turn it up really high here at first. I noticed a lot of difference changing this. Basically what happens when you change this, it changes, we're going to switch it the opposite direction here. It changes how quick and how strong the board lifts the nose up when you brake. It can be great for helping out with curb nudges, going over bonks, and that type of stuff. So now we're going to change and mess with the aggressiveness profile. So here, I didn't notice a huge difference. I'm sure that if you're driving really hard off trails, going off-road and that type of thing, you're going to notice a much larger difference. I'm A, not a super aggressive rider, and B, I just downloaded this to show you guys real quick. It wasn't going about 15 miles per hour, just out in front of the house. So that's with the aggressive all the way up, and this is with the aggressive all the way down. A lot of these changes you're not going to notice quite as much as you notice because you really have to feel it. You got to be on the board and actually feel what's going on. I will say that I did notice a difference with the aggressiveness profiles. I'm not sure if I can really articulate what that is. I would suggest just getting in there and really messing with those changes to see what you like better. So let's switch over here. This is the dynamic responsiveness. I've got kind of the same comments here on these as I do the aggressiveness profiles. Again, you're not going to notice a big difference in the video, but I'm going to show it to you anyways. This is turned all the way up. You do notice a difference when you're riding the board. The responsiveness, it just feels more snappy, responsive. You see that coming down, and that aggressive responsiveness profile down, as we're going to do right now, everything gets a lot more flowy and a lot more smooth. I feel like this would be great for, a large, slow group ride, with friends downtown, that type of a thing. Or maybe a nice, like, river walk, bike path type of thing would be great there. Not so great for trails. But again, mess with these settings and just see how you feel about it. They definitely make a difference. So now we're going to scroll down here a bit, and we're going to mess with our turning radiuses. So what we're going to do here, this is with the, basically what this does is it lifts your nose up when you turn. It kind of helps when you're going through a turn, if you're going especially again on a trail, it keeps that nose up so you're not worried about it digging into the ground. It's kind of tough to tell here. I'm sorry, you're probably getting dizzy, but the nose is being raised up. Now we're going to switch it to nose down, and this is going to push the nose all the way down. Again, you can't notice a huge difference in the video, but you can see my nose is dipping quite a bit. If you're off-road, that can really hinder you, but if you're on-road and you're doing a lot of really tight cornering, I kind of prefer that nose to be down a little bit more. Again, mess with the setting, see what you feel, see how you like it. This one I'm going to do a little differently. I'm going to stop going in circles. This is your yaw max, or your yaw mix rate. So this is as fast as it goes. Basically what it does is it makes that adjustment that we were just looking at, and it happens faster or slower. So this is with it happening as fast as it can. This is me just kind of going down the street doing a little like carving. I'm going to flip it around here and go back up the other direction. Again, I noticed a bit of a difference. I didn't notice anything crazy. This again would be one where you'd want to mess around with it. I would think you would want it faster if you're on a trail, so that way when you come out of that turn, your nose isn't still being artificially lifted up. And again, slower probably on the street, so you can get that more smooth, flowy type of feel. I did notice a difference in feeling when I was riding the board, but again, it wasn't anything huge. But I think if you were to mix that in with the other settings, you would notice a huge difference. I probably didn't notice as big of a difference because when I was riding this setting, I had the nose set just to the stock angle the entire time. So that would be the one thing that I would change if I were to go back, is maybe show that in each mode. This is your jump time. Again, I'm going kind of slow here because I'm trying to get it in frame. This is great for tricks. Turn it up to max, or turn it up higher if you're doing tricks, maybe not all the way to max, and then you can turn it down. One of the great things is you can go back in and you can save these presets and use them again at a later time. All right, so now we're going to talk a little bit about the haptic buzz feature. Basically what this does is when you get to an over torque situation or you get close to your max speed, the buzz goes off. In this video, I'm riding in bay mode, so my max speed is about 10 miles per hour. You'll see what it sounds like.
All right, so all in all, I'd say it's a pretty good upgrade. One thing that I would caution everybody, if you want to do any type of repairs or any modifications to your board in the future, this is going to break a lot of that. So what happened is when they went in and they updated this firmware, they updated the bootloader. And what the bootloader does is basically allows you to add additional firmware that's not signed, or to upload spoof firmware. That's what the old upload that to your board. The old firmware allowed you to do that. The new firmware blocks that. Right now we don't have a workaround, so if you do want to use something like the Rewheel app or something similar to that, you're not going to be able to do it with this new firmware. So if you see that in your future, I would suggest staying away. If you haven't done a firmware update in a while, you can still do what's called the NRF Connect. NRF Connect, basically what that does is it allows you to repair the BMS and repair the controller together. So let's say 2 years from now your board's BMS goes out or the controller has a short in it, and Future Motion won't honor the warranty on it due to the age. You can't just buy a new controller or buy a new BMS or buy a new battery and swap it in. You'll have to actually send the board back into Future Motion and have them do a swap. That wouldn't necessarily affect things like VESC or using the VESC tool or putting an aftermarket controller in, but it would have an effect on if you wanted to keep your board stock and just wanted to get it fixed and back riding again. You'd have to send it into Future Motion. Right now, that tool is something that I use every day in my shop. I'm always replacing controllers, replacing BMSs on boards, and you need to repair those afterwards or the board's going to throw an error, you're not going to be able to ride. That's just a trick Future Motion likes to do to lock everything down. So I would caution everybody, there have been some reports of failing firmware updates. That seems to happen with every release. Future Motion should be monitoring warranties and fixing that if there is an issue. Otherwise, the release seems pretty stable so far. It's only been a day and a half since the thing's been out, so there hasn't been a ton of testing yet. I always suggest give it a week or so before you update. Anyways, I did it now just so I could show you guys what the changes were. The changes are pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, they're really good changes. They do a lot of the stuff that Rewheel does already, adds the posi, adds the custom shaping, adds the time to delay when you jump off the board. And one of the biggest things is it adds that nose lift, and one of the great things is that it adds it for both directions. So if you're going forward, then you decide, I'm gonna swap around, ride switch, you're still gonna be, you know, the front of your board's still gonna be lifted up if that's how you have it set, or pointed down if that's how you have it set. So I would say all in all, it's a really good update. The downside is firmware just, you know, increase their grip strength on the platform. So that's gonna be the downside. Unfortunately, I think that's the way they're probably gonna continue to go. I will say, because I don't want to totally rag on Future Motion, I have had some customers come in with some issues with their boards that definitely were manufacturing defects, but the board was well out of the warranty period, and recently Future Motion has been fixing those things. They have definitely been doing a lot of positives when it comes to doing warranty repairs too, so that's definitely a plus. But all in all, if you are going to update your board, make sure that you keep your phone on, you keep your phone near your board, you don't try to multitask, don't start the update, then switch over to Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and mess around on there. Just make sure that you've got, it takes about 15 minutes or so altogether. It doesn't take crazy amount of time. Make sure your phone's charged, make sure your board's charged. And I would even go as far as to suggest doing it in an area where there's not a lot of Bluetooth devices, not a lot of Wi-Fi. I mean, you're going to do it in your house, there's going to be Wi-Fi, but you know, make sure that if you can, move your board and your phone to somewhere where there's not a bunch of other interfering Bluetooth devices, just in case. That's just an abundance of caution on my end. You could end up breaking your board with this update. Like I said, Future Motion really should step in and fix that. There have been some reports of it. I'm sure that those boards will get fixed. Since it's obvious that the firmware update was what changed that. I would say the opposite for Pint XR owners. I would avoid this update because you're really not going to get a lot of benefit. The Pints, the XRs, Pint X's aren't going to get all the same updates and features that the GT got, especially the XR users. So at this point, I would avoid it unless you have that GT. The Haptic Buzz, it's great. From what Future Motion has been saying, they're not going to give you an option to turn that off unless you're a registered ORL racer with 1,000 miles on your board. So if you don't push the limits, no big deal. But if you're constantly pushing the limits of your board, you're going to be hearing that buzz. You're going to be getting, some people have been saying a little bit of stronger pushback. It almost seems like, and I agree, I feel like they may have tuned it up just a little bit since that first major update they did last year, where they really detuned that pushback. So I would be cautious of updating regardless of your situation. I would avoid it with the XR, Pint X. Ride within your limits, respect the pushback, respect the safety beep if you don't update it on the GT, and respect the haptic feedback, and you will be just fine. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment below, and give another shout out to the Float Life. If you want to save 5% off your order from thefloatlife.com, you can go to or put in coupon code RenoWheel and RenoWheel at checkout, all one word. You get 5% off your order. I know they're coming out with that new hub. I can't wait to get my hands on it. So hopefully I'll get that in next, and we can be doing a review of that. So take care.